Welcome, my amazing viewers. Thank you so much for joining me on my program once again. I appreciate you wherever you are joining from. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please kindly subscribe to my channel. Click the notification bell so that you'll be notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you so much, and remember.
Thank you so much for staying with us. My guest, Inibehe Effiong, a lawyer, joins me virtually via Zoom. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure to speak with you today.
Our pleasure also. You saw that commentary on the need for issue-based campaign. What we say we can never we can never stop overemphasizing it as the campaign starts. Your perspective?
I do expect that political parties and their candidates will focus on the issues bedeviling our country, the terrible state of the economy, the scandalous rate of unemployment, the very bad state of insecurity, the fact that our universities have been closed for the past 7 months and the educational system is in comatose, the fact that the common people do not have basic social amenities, health. I do expect that these issues are not the polarization of the country by the current regime, the shrinking of the civic space, the issue of corruption. These are the issues that I expect the presidential candidates and the political parties, and generally those who are seeking public offices in the next general elections, to pay attention to. This is not the time for us to allow politicians to distract us using ethnicity and religion, which they have over the years employed to distract Nigerians from the real issues bedeviling the country. So for me, since the campaign has now officially commenced in line with the INEC timetable, I am challenging political parties and candidates to dwell on the issues. This is not the time to say, oh, the Yorubas must support the Yoruba, the Igbos must support the Igbos, oh, what is the position of the North, the South, the Muslims, the Christians. These polarizing sentiments is responsible for the underdevelopment of our country. So let them speak to the issues. Nobody should be allowed to distract us with Indian religion. So that is my opening remark.
Now, INEC is saddled with the responsibility of regulating political parties. Do you think the extant laws that empowers them to do so, and INEC has presently constituted, are enough to really beat the political parties and their candidates and in fact the political elite into line, into campaigning based on prescribed rules, laws, and codes?
I do not think so. If you look at the responsibilities of INEC, under the Constitution and the Electoral Act, INEC is saddled with too many responsibilities. INEC has the responsibility to conduct elections, to also regulate the activities of political parties, an area that they haven't really fared well. So when you look at what is going on, look at campaign financing, for example. Where is the capacity? Where is the mechanism? Does INEC even have a regulation beyond what it says? the INEC regulation, to what extent can it be activated to monitor party financing, which is a very critical issue. We are all witnesses to how the APC and the PDP in particular basically dollarize their presidential primary, where candidates or aspirants were throwing dollars all over the place, inducing the delegates to vote for them. We saw that INEC was incapable, and indeed is incapable, of checkmating the excesses of political parties. So for me, I do believe that we need an Electoral Offences Commission in line with the Honorable Justice Mohammed Uwe's report. If we have an Electoral Offences Commission that is specifically saddled with the mandate of regulating and, of course, checkmating the conduct of political parties, that commission can be held accountable for what political parties do. Look at messaging, for example. I read the comments by INEC, the statement by INEC encouraging political parties not to use ethnicity and religion to campaign and so on. It is good, but what happens to enforcement? We have had series of elections in some states between 2019 and date. The recent election in Osun State, where Ademola Adeleke of the PDP won, all of us saw people sharing money, engaged in blatant criminality of vote buying. How many people have been put on trial? What step has INEC undertaken? What measures has INEC taken between the Osun gubernatorial election and date to ensure that those who steal public money and use public money to buy votes, to steal votes, are punished? When you don't set a precedent, when you do not use people as scapegoats, when you do not punish crime, you create a culture of impunity. So going into the 2023 elections, what measures has INEC put in place to ensure that vote buying does not take place? At this moment, I haven't seen anything concrete. I haven't seen it. So I expect that even though I have admitted that INEC is saddled with too many responsibilities, that Professor Mahmoud, the chairman of INEC, will exude leadership and responsibility and come out plain to tell Nigerians in specific terms what the commission is doing to ensure that the 2020 is credible. We cannot speak about the belief of election. Means that we now have, which is commendable. But there is also the fear whether INEC on the day of the election or close to the election will come out to say, in some part of the country, we do not have the infrastructure to allow for the deployment of technology. There is so much confidence that INEC has to give, particularly because, as I have said, in the election that we have seen in some states, Ekiti, Osun, and so on, INEC has proven incapable of checkmating the criminality of politicians. INEC has not been able to checkmate the corruption of our electoral process with money, the monetization of our elections. So when INEC says, the Electoral Act says you cannot spend beyond this threshold, how do you checkmate it? Where is the capacity? Where is the mechanism? So I have my reservations about the credibility of the 2023 elections, particularly regarding the issue of vote buying, which, as I have told you, INEC has not told something about.
Shouldn't we also take a look at the responsibilities of the security agencies, especially the civil security agency, in dealing with this problem, their roles and responsibilities and conduct as this campaign starts?
Excellent point. I do agree. I do agree that indeed law enforcement agencies have statutory responsibility. They have a duty under the law to ensure that the 2023 general elections is free, is credible, that there is security, Nigerians are allowed to exercise their franchise without intimidation. That people are not intimidated, people are not disenfranchised, because what the politicians have now done, having realized that the very primitive culture of going to polling booths with guns, with thugs, with criminals to hijack ballot box and sitting in the comfort of their houses to thumbprint and then call that election is now anachronistic. It is no longer fashionable by reason of the innovations on that new now to electronic accreditation through the PVC, the permanent voters card, and the smart card reader. And now we even have electronic collation and transmission of results. Electronic transmission of results. We have seen that politicians are now resorting to compromising law enforcement agencies. So what they do is that when they see that a particular voting area that their opponents have relative electoral advantage, I've seen a pattern of militarization where they will go to that voting district or voting area and then disrupt the elections or allow talks to disrupt it, that they do not intervene. In Lagos, even as we are preparing for the election, we were hearing that some hoodlums were going to certain places to even stop people from registering to vote. Who had been put on trial? Who had been arrested? See is that the political class in this country have corrupted our law enforcement agencies. The role, and this is a point I need Nigerians to pay attention to. When the current ruling party were in opposition, the current speaker, Femi Bajabiamila, and others in the Action Congress, they court to the Federal High Court to argue that the Nigerian Armed Forces has no role in our elections, and the court ruled in their favor.
That was just before the was it before the Osun or Ekiti governorship election then?
Before. This is when they were not in power. I mean when they were Action Congress. They went to court to argue that the military has no role in our elections, and the Court of Appeal ruled in their favor. The Federal High Court ruled in their favor that you cannot deploy military for the conduct of election, that is inconsistent with the Constitution. But Buhari won election in 2015, and they now started doing the very thing that they were speaking against. The point I am making is that
what the administration has said is that the military, and that was also the explanation the Jonathan administration came up with then, was that the military is not deployed directly within the polling area, but along the periphery to secure the parameters, as it were.
That is a distinction without a difference. The point, the uncontested point, is that our election has been militarized. If we are running a democracy, a supposed democracy, our soldiers are supposed to be in the barracks. It is in this country that you see military people carrying handbags for girlfriends of politicians, accompanying politicians to parties, to clubs. It is in this country that you see soldiers regulating traffic on the road, that you see soldiers going to settle husband and wife disputes, that you see soldiers going to enforce court judgments. It is in this country that soldiers have been turned to Boy Scouts. And that is the same mindset that is responsible for deploying soldiers for our elections. If the government is saying, if the Buhari regime is telling us that the police is corrupt, the policing is inefficient, or lacks the capacity or the manpower to guarantee the security of elections, to protect voters and polling booths, let them come out and say so plainly. Because what is the argument? If you look at the law, Section 217 and Section 218 of the Constitution, regarding the powers of the President and Commander-in-Chief, right? Because Section 130 of the Constitution says that there shall be for the Nigeria a President who shall be the Chief Executive Officer of the Government of the Federation and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. So if the Commander-in-Chief is now saying the president that controls the police under section 215 of the Constitution, that the police under his leadership in the last 7 years does not have the capacity to guarantee the integrity of our elections. They should say so. But if you are going to deploy the military, the rules of engagement must be clearly spelled. It is not enough for us to wait.
Okay.
On the day of election, soldiers moving in vehicles to polling booths. Let them clearly set the rules. But I am making the point.
But Barrister Young, sorry to cut you short, but Barrister Young, a court ruled just before the Osun governorship election that the state at the Amoteco should not get involved in the conduct of the election. The Inspector General of Police recently gave directives that all those state security outfits should also not be involved in the conduct of this election. What do you think that will bring into election security?
I agree. I agree with the court. It is commonsensical. If you go to a state where there is a Amoteco, for example, established by the governor, the officers are recruited by the government of the, and we have seen that our governors, as I have described in the past, are constitutional vandals. They engage in blatant constitutional vandalism. Our governors have shown that they do not have the capacity to protect the tenets of our democracy, that they do not have the discipline, the moral authority to allow democracy to thrive. You cannot entrust elections where these governors have a stake in the hands of state apparatus that are controlled by them. And what is the evidence that we can simply refer to? Look at the lunacy called local government elections in this country. We have a situation where state INEC, state Electoral Commission, I don't want to put the word independent because really they are basically, they work for the ruling parties in the various states. We have seen how governors have corrupted local government elections, have imposed their stooges. No single governor in this country, to the best of my knowledge, has organized a very credible local government election. They are still even appointing local government caretaker committees. So you cannot having that kind of.
What will you speak? What will you speak of the Kaduna? Barrister Young, what will you speak of Kaduna State, where the opposition party won at least for local councillors?
I was going to mention Rufai, Kaduna, that in relative terms, I do not admire Rufai in terms of his democratic credentials. I perceive him as someone who is totalitarian, somebody who doesn't allow for dissent. And there are replays of examples I can cite to you. But regarding local government elections in Kaduna, I would not fail to admit that compared to his lawless colleagues, Rufai had, to some extent, given some modicum of allowance for the opposition to participate in the elections. In my home state, Akwa Ibom, you cannot say that there has never been a local government elections. The governor sits down in the government house, write the names of people, give to the man that he says is the head of the state electoral.
That's a big allegation you're raising here. A very big allegation that you cannot immediately substantiate. So let's go for a break. When we come back, so many issues to deal with. For instance, those that are in control of state apparatus of power, the need for level playing field as campaigns start, local government, state and federal level will dwell on that. Stay with us.
Did you know that AIT's social media handles have all changed? If you are one of the millions of our followers on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, this is introducing to you AIT's new official and rebranded social media handles. Like or follow us now on our Facebook page, Official AIT Live. If you're on Twitter, switch to our new handle at official AIT Live and activate the notification button to get breaking news and updates on the go. For exclusive short videos and photo news, follow our Instagram account at official AIT Live. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Official AIT Live, and enjoy live streaming of news and your favorite programs, where you can also watch our broadcast materials at your own convenience. Note that Official AIT Live is the only authentic social media profile name with all the handles on our website, ait.live, with a notification prompt to accept and receive breaking news and updates on the go. Log on to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube platforms on your smartphone, tablet device, laptop, and desktop to follow us now. AIT.live. On air, online, online.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We've been speaking with Inibe Effiong, a lawyer and civil rights activist, on the nature and method of campaigns we should look forward to as the presidential and national assembly candidates of the different political parties have about 150 days to crisscross the country, reach voters wherever they are, to sell their manifesto with the ultimate aim of getting their votes during the February 25th presidential and national assembly election. Like I said on another platform this morning, it is time for the politicians to reach the voters wherever they are. Before now, the voters, the citizens will attempt to reach them, but once it's campaign, they are the ones on the go, they are the ones on the roads, on air, everywhere, trying to reach the voters. So you are Cking, the voter, the electorate. You'll be receiving several visitors. So many candidates and parties have planned door to door, neighbor to neighbor, street to street, or grassroots method to reach voters. Thank you so much for staying with us, Barrister Effiong. We said before we went on the break that we'll stay on ensuring level playing field by local governments, state governments, federal government. Reports we get from the states indicate that these are areas that are worse hit. Yes, governorship and state House of Assembly campaigns wouldn't start till October 12, but perhaps I want you to speak to that. With reference to the very last incident in Osun State during the last election, where a political party was denied access to a stadium used by the ruling party a few days after they conducted their rallies.
That is unconstitutional. It is illegal. Under the Electoral Act, there is a provision that clearly states that state apparatus shall not be used or employed to the advantage of a political party or to the disadvantage of another political party. In other words, the Electoral Act clearly provides that all political parties shall be given a level playing field. Everybody shall be treated equally. Again, I have made the point that governors in this country, and I want to be quoted clearly, are constitutional vandals. They engage in constitutional vandalism. How do you explain a situation where the chief executive of a state will have the effrontery? We were just speaking about El-Rufai the other time, about local government election. But it is in the same Kaduna that Labour Party was not allowed to use, I think, the Arewa House to hold their events. We have seen in Ebonyi where people went out for a political rally and they were attacked. You have also cited the Osun example where a public facility, the stadium, was denied to a political party for the purpose of campaign. These are public places funded by public funds, established by public funds, belonging to the Nigerian people, belonging to the people of the state. So no governor has the right under the law to deprive a political party of the use of any public facility. If the administrative requirements, maybe payment of some fees or official application, the rules should be clearly stated and should be applied universally, not arbitrarily. Everybody should be given access to public facilities. So I condemn that kind of witch hunting. It must not be tolerated. And let me also use this opportunity to speak about the order of the Federal High Court.
In Lagos?
Whether members of the Labour Party have the right to go out on the 1st of October to engage in political rally. Now, under the 2022 Electoral Act, I think Section 92 or so, the law is clear. The Electoral Act clearly states and upholds the rights of political parties and candidates and of people generally to participate in political rallies and processions without hindrances, without interference. So let nobody say, because what the Federal High Court has said is that on the 1st of October, the obedient movement people, they have the right to pass through the Lekki toll gate, but they should not assemble there. The court has also ordered the Inspector General of Police to give them protection, and that is in line with the Electoral Act. Because the Electoral Act says that the police, the role of the police, the civil defense, and other law enforcement agencies during political rallies and processions shall be limited to the provision of security. So the police does not have the right under the law to say you cannot come out for a rally, you cannot engage in political procession, because they have received some imaginary, whimsical, non-existent intelligence that hoodlums are going to hijack, hoodlums are going to infiltrate. The law today is that no law enforcement agency in this country, not the police, not the civil defense, not the military, they have no right to stop people from engaging in political rallies. If there are disagreements regarding venue, regarding time, the Electoral Act says such disagreements shall be resolved amicably. So people should be allowed. People have the freedom. Nigerians have the freedom to gather. That is what Section 40 of the Constitution guarantees. The right to freedom of association and peaceful assembly. And I expect that governors, because we are always talking about the impunity of Aso Rock, but I have repeatedly said that in terms of disregard for rule of law and democracy, God was the president. Governors must abide by the rule of law. They must allow their opponents to campaign freely. We must not tolerate a situation where state apparatus is employed to persecute opponents or political parties that are not in power in any state. That must not be tolerated. And we must not also allow any governor in this country or any political officer that to use public funds to promote the candidate of a political party or a political party.
Before we get to that, it is an area where we'll spend some time on. Use of state funds by the party in power at the state, local government or federal level to prosecute political campaign. You mentioned the provisions of the Electoral Act that stated in case of conflict in the use of a venue for a rally, it should be amicably resolved. What further explanation can you give to that? And in other instances, Lagos, for instance, some aggrieved Nigerians went to court and they got some form of judgment, while the court also said the right to association movements cannot be taken away. But in cases where there is a perceived use of state apparatus against the interests of some political parties, what options are left for those parties, apart from going to court like we saw in Lagos?
Litigation, of course. A political party whose right to assemble, to hold rallies, to campaign, is being denied, should approach the court to seek remedy. But I must also caution that we must imbibe the culture of standing up for democratic values. And we must also learn to defy illegal orders given by people who do not have authority under the law to say so. Now, regarding disagreements as to venue, I always find it baffling whenever the police comes out to say, oh, if people come out to protest, if people or the opponents are going on a rally, there is going to be conflict. We don't hear that. We don't ever hear that. When the ruling party or or the party in power, or the governor in power, or the president in power is campaigning, you will never hear that the APC that is in power today in Lagos and at the federal level, that the police has disagreed with regarding where they can go on rally. It is always the opposition. And this is the same fate that the APC suffered in opposition when they were Action Congress, ANPP and CPC. President Muhammadu Buhari in 2003 lost the presidential election, went to protest, accusing INEC of electoral brigandage, of rigging. This same Buhari that does not believe in the rights of Nigerians to assemble today was tear gas. Buhari briefed Mr. Femi Falana, who went to court to argue that President Buhari and the ANPP had the right to assemble, to protest without police permit. They won at the Federal High Court. The police appealed and lost. And that is the case of Inspector General of Police and All Nigeria People's Party, where the rights of Nigerians to assemble, to engage in political protest or any form of civic expression was upheld by the court without the consent of the police. And it was in furtherance of that even in the National Assembly in 2015 amended the Electoral Act to limit the role of law enforcement agencies to provision of security, a provision that has been reintroduced and even strengthened under the 2022 Electoral Act. So the police has no power under the current law, under the current legal regime, to determine or to ban anybody from going out to campaign, to rally, or to engage in other form of activities. If there are disagreements as to what I said, what I expect is a civil conversation regarding the routes to be followed and all that. But I must also caution that in doing so, the police must not be seen to be acting irresponsibly, to be acting in a partisan manner or arbitrarily. Police are not supposed to be working for the pleasure of the ruling party. It is Nigeria Police Force, not APC Police Force, not PDP Police Force, not AAC Police Force. It is Nigeria Police Force that is established under Section 214 of the Constitution. So let them act as Nigeria Police. They should not be acting as APC Police, as Buhari Police. They must be seen to be non-partisan. They must be seen to be independent. They must be seen to be above board.
Okay. Now let's go into issue of use of state funds for campaign purposes. We borrowed our presidential system from the United States. This issue do crop up there, and almost every election it comes up locally here also. As we move into these campaigns now, there will be need for governors. Of course, the president not on the ballot, but we expect him also to be on the campaign trail, some instance for the APC. Elected officials, appointive officials, bureaucrats being part of the campaign, sourcing campaign funds from Treasury. These are issues we must look out for against the backdrop of the fact that INEC just yesterday raised concerns over PDP and APC's books as far as the 2019 election is concerned. Your perspectives?
A legitimate concern. And in speaking to these issues, this particular issue that you have raised, we should look beyond the federal level. Yes, the malady is there in Abuja at the center, but at the states, Nigerians should pay attention to what governors are doing in this country. At the states, it is even worse. It is worse. You will see a situation where a governor will call the state executive council meeting. Commissioners will attend that meeting wearing the t-shirts with the face and image of the candidate of their party supported by the governor. You see politicians, governors, it also happens at the federal level, holding political meetings in government houses, using government vehicles for rallies and campaigns, using state-owned broadcasting stations as mouthpiece of the ruling parties in the various states. These are acts of criminality. These are illegalities that are being perpetuated by governors. And it should not be encouraged. The question is, the money that they share on election day, where does it come from? To the point that they will give as much as 10,000 per voter. These are state funds. Nobody will tell me that a legitimate, honest, self-made business person, private citizen, will deploy billions and they just waste it. These are public funds and we must not allow it to continue. So let us begin to ask our politicians why they are so present in using state funds to fund the activities of political parties. It is illegal under the Electoral Act. It is unconstitutional. It is immoral. It is irresponsible. And we must not continue to tolerate it. We should not tolerate it. Let state funds be used for the development of the states. But what we have seen tragically in this country, and I say it is worse at the states, because at the federal level, you can even see some semblance of dissent. You can find somebody in the House of Reps or the Senate coming up with a motion to even speak about these issues, even if we don't get a resolution. But at the states, the House of Assemblies, they are basically tools of the governors. The governors have turned the Houses of Assemblies to parastatals of the executive. So no form of check and balances. That is why you must pay attention to what governors are doing and are planning to do. Are you not surprised? Please, let me mention this point.
Okay.
Why do you think, let me ask you, why do you think that governors are automatic members of presidential campaign councils? Why do you think that governors are the ones spearheading the campaigns of presidential candidates? Look at Atiku presidential campaign. Look at Tinubu presidential campaign. Why do you think governors are given a preference? It is not because of any imaginary structure that they have. It is not because of any extraordinary or superficial or supernatural political relevance that they have. It is because of access to state funds. I dare say that is the main reason for governors taking over campaigns of presidential candidates. And the evidence is there.
Okay.
This is not just people's comments. The evidence is there.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your patience to watch from the beginning to the end. I hope you have learned something from the video you have just watched. The video you have just watched is to bring information to your doorstep and for educational purpose. It is not to demonize anybody. Let us watch continuously and see who can be able to make a sense out of every nonsense we are seeing. We must continue. We move. It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what they say. They will kill us. We will kill them. At the end of the day, Biafra is here. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please kindly subscribe to the channel. Click the notification bell so that you're notified each time I upload a video. You will be among the first to receive it. Thank you and remember blessed. Bye-bye. See you again.